Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspired podcast. Welcome back to a new episode. Please visit www.spiritualinspired.ca to watch the old episodes. And also, if you want to support us, you have the opportunity to do so. My guest today is Debbi Dachinger. Debbi, thank you very much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you and your amazing show.
Thank you. And you've been in this field for a long time, and you are doing amazing work. And I would like to start by asking you, you studied with renowned shaman teachers, Dr. Albert Villoldo and Don Oscar Miro-Quesada. What attracted you to this side of shamanism?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I love Claudio that you were able to say their names so perfectly because most people stumble over that. I know it's a mouthful. And yeah, I have studied with several of them, including Puma Fredy Quispe and others. And I continue my studies, even though I'm very certified. This whole path for me has been a great surprise. And I would have never anticipated being here, which makes it even more wonderful. So I've been headed on this very media path, book writing coach, take books to guaranteed international bestseller. I do some publicity work on the side. I've got a handful of amazing spiritual messengers I always represent. And many years ago, I got called, after a lot of judgment, by the way, I got called to drink ayahuasca. And I was like, what? Found that very strange because I was completely not into it at all. And I went ahead. I know enough when I get that kind of calling, just surrender, whatever that is. And I did. And the second time that I drank ayahuasca, I went out of country. I drank 4 nights in a row. And I had many profound things happen, big experience. And one of them was that the divine energy came and visited me starting the first night through the 4th night. And every night she said to me, Debbi, you are a healer. You are a shaman. You are a priestess. And I was massively confused. I argued with her. I didn't understand the context to those words. And as far as healers, to me, those were my friends. And those were people who came on my podcast. I didn't know that to be myself. As far as shaman, that was embarrassing because I understood what it takes to become a shaman. I was drinking medicine with profound shamans facilitating and taking care of me through the experience. They've been drinking for decades in jungles and going through things I couldn't imagine. And yet she professed this over and over again. Very confusing, but every night she brought another piece to show me that aspect of myself. When I came back to the United States, I worked with somebody. We did some past life regressions because of this. And I did indeed saw past lives. First, as a Native American man, beautiful life that I led, very isolated, but very connected to nature and animals. And a second life that was me as a 7-foot+ tall woman who led the Mayan people, lived in a pyramid. And I was so blown away by her and the way she was the most poised creature I'd ever been around, and also the most powerful. I never experienced anyone creating the way she did. And before I left her presence, I asked her a question about herself. And I got it all wrong. And she shook her head and telepathically, while she raised her finger, said, I am not from here. I'm originally from another galaxy. Oof. So here I have now this shamanism thing. And God, there's a part of me that's an extraterrestrial. What does all this mean? So that put me on a deep path to uncover more. But at the same time, the universe was constantly bringing me these phenomenal synchronicities, things you can't make up. And I was learning more and more that the shamanism piece, ancient for me, so many lives I have been practicing this in many different genders. And the healer part, well, now that I'm a certified shaman, I get it because that is what I do. I work with groups, I work with people in private situations, and I do indeed facilitate healings, and I love it. I'm running a shaman class right now. And The priestess part, I'm not fully aware of, although I like it if it's in context of how people call each other queen these days. But I do know that aspect of me that was Mayan was absolutely a priestess and a leader in that time. So it was a profound ayahuasca experience. I would have never anticipated what felt so confusing to me all those years ago would continue to unfold this path for me. And I have been so, I want to say, honored, humbled to work with these people, these shamans who are like magicians and have completely influenced and continue to influence my life and what I'm able to do to serve.
Yes, very interesting. And I have to admit that my first ceremony was taken out of curiosity. And I was late to the ceremony because it was done in somewhere close to where I live. So I won't disclose the location. And again, I was late. People waited for me. I wasn't quite there yet, but again, I wanted to see how it is. And I went through very nicely, and I connected with nature. It was done in nature, and I had a beautiful experience. The moment I moved to a different country where it was allowed, the medicine was allowed, the experience didn't turn that good. And I think it was a test for me to see if I'm going to leave this body or I'm going to stay in the light and love and be ready to move forward with my path. Because also recently I was told that I'm a healer. And very soon I will have to, maybe after the necessary preparations, I'll have to come out of my cocoon and be more public on what the skills will be and the services and the service to humanity I can offer, but everything in due time. But I am glad that you had these beautiful experiences with the right people, because as you said, there is a huge responsibility to be a curandera and hold space for others, because you don't know how they react, you don't know who is going to come to the ceremony, and I'm talking about energies here. So that's very different. And yeah, please.
Thank you so much for sharing that and being so transparent. First, I want to say yes, yes, yes. You know, I've drunk 25 times and not one experience is like the other. They are all completely different. Good, bad, they're all phenomenal to me, because even the ones that were pulling up trauma or major things for me to look at and process and heal have changed my life, right? I've rid myself of baggage I was carrying. So I'm deeply grateful to all of them. And thank you for calling me a curandera and for knowing that. That's beautiful. And that is essentially a female version of a healer. And just to be clear, I do not facilitate medicine ceremonies. Yeah, I don't facilitate them. What I do is I've done music for them. I'm a singer and my partner plays guitar. So we've done lots of that. And then outside of medicine, we've done tons of like transformational people that you would know who do retreats. They have brought us in and paid us to open up with sound baths and sometimes play before they do their work with the audience. And that's been beautiful. And otherwise, when I hold my shaman classes, like I am right now, working with a group, I do healing sessions. And I feel like I'm serving right now because the world, the planet, humanity is in a really interesting place and we're at a crossroads. And I feel like it's incumbent on me to help facilitate us into a positive timeline I'd like to be on, and anybody else can come aboard, where there is connection and a galactic community going on. And also, you know, health, love for humankind, for animals, for Mother Earth, for all of this. And so I literally do these weekly healings that people join the program and they just receive, because it's rewiring their nervous system. It's healing trauma as I do this work. It's reconnecting them with soul aspects that got disconnected during trauma and creating dreams. Like that's what we're actually doing in today's class. We're doing a despacho ceremony where they're going to put a lot of stuff that hasn't worked for them into a sacred pouch we're all going to build together in the class, and then all their dreams. And there's a whole beautiful process I'm so excited to take them through. But that's my work. And then also here in Los Angeles, we've got a temple, healing temple behind our house. And so we do small intimate groups of music and shamanic healing. So yeah, we offer a lot around that.
Thank you. So many things to touch on, and I also wanted to touch on the music component of your life, and especially that you play one of my favorite, the songs of one of my favorite artists, which is Pea. And I love her music. It's just unbelievable, so connected with nature. And I think what you do complements beautifully the shamanic side of your existence.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's an important expression for me to get that aspect out there. I think the music is really healing. I've seen in the group work we've done with music and meditation how it's really facilitated positive change. I love this aspect of what I do. And Claudio, I'm speaking a lot this year. I'm going to be speaking in Glastonbury, England in September. It's a very sacred Mary Magdalene and King Arthur site, among some other amazing presenters. And so now what I'm doing, I talk about shamanism and extraterrestrials and where they intersect and the importance of both. And I also am going to start bringing into my speaking the musical aspect. And same, I'm speaking on a galactic origins cruise to the Yucatan. And if anybody wants to sign up for that, you should do it now, because they'll be closing the door in about a month. Like if you want to book your cabin, but you can go on my website, debbidachinger.com, and just click on the cruise. You won't believe the speakers. I'm excited. Like amazing speakers, amazing excursions to these beautiful sacred pyramids and sites. And we're going to do a fire ceremony with a grandmother elder of the Mayans. And it's going to be amazing. And so they've given me two 90-minute spots. So same, I'm speaking about what my subject is that I'm definitely here to speak about. And then also bringing in the music. And it's going to be this beautiful weaving offering for people, because it's information is beautiful. The shifting is what it's really all about.
Yes, and I really also thought and felt that I need a musical component in my life, not just to listen to, but produce it, create it. And I took upon learning how to play Native American flute. So I'm a beginner. I'm just, learning the ropes, but I'm really enchanted with the instrument and the sounds, and I hope sometime this year to be able to perform for my family and the close circle of friends in such a way that I won't bring shame on the family.
That's a real blessing. I love that that's your vision, is to play something for those you love. Boy. And I also love the sound of the Native American flute. It's transcendent. It really is. How gorgeous that you're still learning like that. And if you lived closer, we would bring you in to play with us.
Yes, and in fact, I'm going to attend the powwow this weekend, my first one, and there are multiple flute makers attending the event, so I'll be able to select another one just as a backup. We'll see. Will be an interesting experience.
Yeah, the more you get into this music, the more that opens up. You can hear, oh, this would be beautiful. We keep getting instruments, little and small. I've got these beautiful chimes that I use. I've got a djembe drum. I've got an instrument that makes the croak of a frog. I've got an instrument that makes a little bird noise, because there are aspects in some of the songs where it's needed. Like there's a song I sing called Combo. It's very melancholy and very beautiful and evocative. And it is a song about a frog. And at the end, there's always this, like a sound of a river and the frog noise. Right. So, yeah, the more you get into this and start enjoying playing and creating music and people respond to it, the more you're like, oh, what else can I add to this?
Yes. And, I bring experts on my podcast and we talk about spiritual side of things and our spiritual side of life. But at the same time, I highlight alternative ways of healing, and sacred plant medicine is one of these ways. And I mentioned that during the recent summit I co-created, the Co-Creative Awakening Summit, and we had a couple of experts as well. Aduna Anua from Brazil. She also lives in LA. And a friend, Olga Radochai from Toronto. And they spoke about shamanism and sacred plant medicine. So I would like you also to highlight this type of healing through ayahuasca and iboga and San Pedro, because some people are still afraid that this might affect them negatively somehow.
Well, okay. It's not my expertise, but it is my experience. And I will say, I've never tried iboga. I don't have any interest. Iboga is really good if you're an addict. If you have an issue with alcohol, if you have an issue with drugs, if there is something you cannot stop doing and it's destroying you, and you've tried everything else, go do iboga. I understand it's a one and done. It's powerful, but it's not for me. That's like 32 hours of laying on the floor, but profound. I know people have done it and changed their lives. San Pedro, well, it's so funny because I'm looking out of my window right now and we have San Pedro plants all around the backyard. They're blessed plants. They're gorgeous, hard as heck to make. And once you get the pulp out, it's a whole process to make them. And it's a heart opener. It's very profound. One of my teachers, Don Oscar Miro-Quesada, he used them for visionary, and they're not psychoactive. So I don't understand. I never understand how did he do this, but he used them with his teacher from Peru, and he is originally from Peru. And he had profound learning experiences. In the beginning for me, Huachuma is the name of it, San Pedro. I had a really hard time. I used to get violently ill, which is not typical. But I got ill because it is the grandfather, right? It is the father aspect. So if you have if you have daddy issues, let's just say, it's going to come up. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's a plant. You're not taking drugs or chemicals. You're ingesting a plant. And the two beautiful things about the plant is, one, it's organic. Two, it has wisdom. It is complete consciousness. It's been around so long, the DNA that it's carrying inside of it. And it's so gorgeous. You sit around in a circle at the beginning of any ceremony and you always state your intention. And I state my intention, but the back of my mind, the bubble goes, ha, 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 because the intention is rarely fulfilled. The plant knows what you need. There's really no reason to say an intention. The plant totally knows what you need and will give you that anyway. Even if you said, I want to create abundance, and the plant's like, ha, 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 you got to work on whatever, like your plant, you got to work on your health. You got to work on what happened when you were a child. You got to work on the fact that you never owned up and took responsibility for XYZ. They'll bring it to you. So why would you be afraid if the plant can facilitate about 90 years of therapy in one quick session? To me, that's like amazing. And the other thing not to be afraid of is people go, oh my God, you're going to throw up. Maybe. I haven't always, not by any means, sometimes, not always. But the beautiful thing about throwing up and why we all like it when we drink is because you have trauma you've stored in your body. Again, plant has wisdom. The plant will go to that trauma, surround it, because trauma is surrounded by water. That's why it doesn't leave your body. And we're about 90% water. So there's the trauma kind of floating somewhere in your body. Plant has wisdom, goes, let's extract that, honey. You don't need this anymore. And from one end to the other, you're going to take it out. When you do vomit, for instance, it is not the same as when you went out and drank too much or when you got botulism, food poisoning. Completely different experience. When you have botulism or drank too much, it's a disgusting feeling. You feel awful. You feel wretched during, you feel wretched after. This is completely different on plant medicine. You know, in the moment, you know it's coming up. You got your buckets, so you're all safe. You got your bucket, you got your toilet paper, you're always safe. And if you need help, and you're working with a real shaman, there's going to be someone there to help you, right? Because if it goes overboard, they'll blow mapacho over you. That's a sacred smoke that transitions energy, shifts energy. And we have the feeling when it's coming out of relief. And sometimes people see in the bucket, they know what it was. They can literally identify what the trauma was that was just released, what the 90 years of therapy that just came out because you are so beloved by the wisdom of the plant that they did that for you. So it is quite a different feeling. I have had, I would never call it a bad experience, but I've had some rough times. I pretty much stopped drinking. And last year, all of a sudden I got a call from the plant that said, I want you to come sit with me. And I thought, oh, well, now that I'm a, shaman practitioner, the plant's going to give me some downloads, some shaman secrets, right? I was so sure of myself. And I went and I sat and was completely not that. Best laid plans and God laughs. And instead, all Friday night, I was dealing with my mother over and over again. And the plant was showing me so much stuff and asking me, take responsibility, clean it up. Look at this, look at that. I was exhausted after a few hours. And I called in the shaman and said, please help me. What's going on? I feel like I'm getting it. I feel like I'm accepting this and saying, yep, yep, yep. And I had a difficult childhood. And I had a very interesting mother figure. And a lot went down between us. And I was just being shown my side of things. Clean it up, babe. And the shaman leaned down and just said so simply, once you surrender, Debbi, and once you get it here and here, the plant will be done with you. And I thought, okay, that's fair. I surrender. I whatever, bring it. And I sat there and went through whatever I went through. And what a blessing, because a week later, my mother's health changed and she passed away. I had no regrets when she died. I was clean. And not only that, but I was able to be there as a shaman practitioner while she was going through the experience in hospice. I sang over her. I did shamanic last rites over her. I wasn't there as a person falling apart because this was tragic. Not that it wasn't. I had my cries. But at the same time, there was this ferocious power because my lineage was coming through me, the Incas, the people from the Andes, the Quechua people. And that's who showed up for my mother. I would have never been that being, had that potency for my mother to cross into the light, had I not had that experience with ayahuasca a week before. And so what judgment is that? Was it an awful experience, or was it the greatest gift and blessing I could have ever received from a plant? Rough night, absolutely, but for such great purpose. So I'm deeply grateful to the plants.
Debbi, thank you very much for sharing such a touchy story and personal story. And to be honest with you, if the spirit is right, I will also have to prepare for this type of moment within a year or so. I was told about about it, and also told that my mom will become my anchor on the other side to continue the work I'm supposed to do in this lifetime on this side of the veil. So again, these are preparatory messages we really have to engage with, absorb, and process. And then when the time comes, we know exactly how to act.
Indeed. Yes. Indeed. Exactly. And we just have to get out of the way. When I practice my shamanism to help people heal, I always let them know I'm a hollow bone of myself. Like I'm nothing, right? I'm not facilitating a healing. That's nothing, but I completely get out of the way and let the lineage come through me to do its work. It's the person's higher self. It's the lineage. it's the ancestry, and then and probably it's also for me, the many, many, many lifetimes I've had doing shamanic work in one form or another. And so this is, it's so beautiful, like to not have to think, and whatever I receive, deliver it. I mean, the healing work speaks for itself, but I get messages when I do tracking for somebody. That's often how I start a session. And I'll ask the archetypes, the great serpent, Atarango, mother, sister, jaguar, Sarwakinti, the royal hummingbird, and eagle condor, also Pachamama and Pachacuti, right? And I ask for this person, what messages do you have with the rattle? And I get information. I have to write it down because there's so much that comes through. And then when I am done tracking, the first thing I do is share with the person, here are the messages. And they're from many aspects, looking at someone's life. And people are amazed. I needed to hear that. I didn't even tell you this. This has been going on. That was direction. That's what I needed. And that's just the beginning. Then I do tracking for what does this person need? And even after I get that information and I start my work, I use my pendulum. Is this correct? Is this the direction we need to go through? And every session is so different, whether it's on a group or whether it's on a personal basis. But this work speaks for itself, to let this profound, ancient, shamanism is the oldest in the world. Sometimes they say it's the oldest religion, but you and I know it's not a religion. They don't know what other word to give it, but it is certainly the oldest healing modality on the planet. It was born 2.5 million years ago in Paleolithic times. And the first shamans, or samans, as they call them in Siberia, were women. They were the midwives. They were the ones who transcended this reality into other realities. And the shamans from then still to today, they have relationships with extraterrestrials, benevolent beings that help guide them and give them wisdom. Extraterrestrials are who told shamans about ayahuasca. Think about that. Being in the Amazon, there is 10,000 teeming plants everywhere. How in the world would a shaman walk through an Amazonian forest and go, oh, that plant, that vine, oh, okay, I cut them and then I put them in water and I boil them and then we drink, and it depends how much each person needs to drink to have this incredible experience. They were told by the extraterrestrials this, and plus the plants have wisdom, and they told them as well.
Yes, and when we do this type of work on ourselves, people have to understand that we heal our ancestral line as well, and they are very happy to see less darkness and less trauma along the line, and that's why we have to do it.
So true. They're always cheering on the side, like, thank you. Thank you for ending that. Thank you for changing it for whomever is to come next, even if it's just all of humanity. It's big work.
And Debbi, you just mentioned extraterrestrials. What is your connection with them? Are you coming from a particular planet? Do you have your soul family? Please share.
Well, there's first of all, I'm an aggregator, right? I am a journalist for this information, for extraterrestrials, for people who channel extraterrestrials. I have been very graced once I woke to this information being truth, that I have tremendous people who come on my show who channel ETs. I'm deep in the world. Now I moderate panels. I just emceed and moderated the Starseed Conference. I'm going to be emceeing a Lyran conference coming up and Portal to Ascension Conference. And I mean, all this stuff is happening. And I am bloody interested in all this information. I'm very discerning. I'm a big skeptic, so I'm not a just hell yes for everything. I always gauge what I feel inside about anything or anyone. I have personal experience. I have been visited by the light beings, definitely not from this planet. I was really clear in my dream who and what that was. And I have seen spacecraft on many occasions. It's been pretty amazing, benevolent. I've had people from the future come visit to take care, especially once I was in the middle of some contact work. And during the contact work, I was in tremendous pain. We were sitting in these lawn chairs. They were awful. I had hip problems at the time. And I was just praying like, oh my God, I can't wait till this meditation is over because this hurts so much. Please help, please help. And all of a sudden, the woman who was channeling, she's extremely well known, and she was channeling extraterrestrials. And suddenly she stopped and started talking to some beings, and nobody could see them. Nobody knew what was going on. And all of a sudden a phone went off and it said emergency, medical emergency, medical emergency. It was crazy. And we found out it was my phone, and my phone was turned off. I wasn't even near it. And so she stopped, and I apologized. I said, this is so embarrassing, that this is happening. And she said, don't be embarrassed, because some beings came from the future, 500 years in the future. And when I was asking them, who are you? What are you doing? What would you like? And they were very annoyed with me because they said they were here to help someone, and they were facing you in the circle. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So many experiences around that. Yeah.
Yes, very interesting. And, I recently interviewed Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he thinks that the next scare the governments and powers to be will throw at us will be an alien invasion. What's your take on that?
Oh my God. What? I don't know
Just
if I
to
get
scare us again, not for real.
I don't think so. I think that's been done already. It really has been done. And I think actually the complete opposite is happening right now. First of all, I did a project last year, and the project was for a presentation I was doing. And boy, do I take on a lot. I get these downloads and I just go for it. So I created a film, literally, and I interviewed 6 of the most well-known channelers for very well-known extraterrestrials, people like Daryl Anka, okay, who channels Bashar. So, and Cryon, Lee Carroll, et cetera. So you get the level of people. And I asked them all completely independent. None of them knew about each other. No, none of them knew the same questions were going to be asked. I asked them all, what's coming next? Is there going to be open, undeniable contact with extraterrestrials? If so, who? And I created these film clips for my presentation. It was amazing, based on all of their responses. So like I said, none of them knew what the others said, and they all were saying the same thing over and over again. And whether they were channeling or they were speaking on behalf of themselves, but they were well-known channelers. First is between 2026 and 2027, there will be something unprecedented, 90% chance that something will happen, woof, that humanity will know, okay, they exist. As we know, what's been happening with disclosure is no matter what the government has tried to do, no matter how they have disparaged some whistleblowers who worked in the government and came forth and started telling the truth, now the whistleblowers are not afraid anymore because now they've got backing and they know it. And so rather than being discredited, they're coming even more out in force. I spoke with Nick Pope, who you might know from Ancient Aliens, and he used to work for the British government in UFOs. And he has said to me, Debbie, starting at last year, December forward, that the whistleblowers, there is going to be a lot of surprises coming forward. The government's less and less going to have a leg to stand on. And I really feel like that was old news you heard. I love Bruce Lipton, so nothing negative about him. I love him. Don't know that that's his field in particular, but I will say I disagree. I heartily disagree. I think the complete opposite is going to happen. And I could say so much about this according to history with extraterrestrials, and I can say so much about the new information I've been given going forward and what the extraterrestrials know, because they're very aware of us. And these are all advanced, benevolent beings waiting for us, not to be perfect, but to get some of our act together, because they're waiting for us to become part of the galactic community. They are looking forward to it. We are their family, DNA-wise. We are literally connected to them through DNA. So they want to have relationship with us.
Yes, and just to be clear, I mean, I asked Bruce if the government will either throw at us a new scare with a new virus, or the alien invasion. And he said, I think it's going to be the alien invasion because the first time around the virus didn't work till the end as they planned. So now they might try something different. That's why he mentioned alien invasion. Debbi, you also work with animal spirits. You have some experience. How did you get into that?
Well, I love animals deeply. I think I've got some skills there. I definitely know what's going on with my dogs. I always have, and other animals. I don't know what you call it, if it's telepathy, but I have a deep, deep, deep connection. And I studied with Puma Fredy Quispe, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And maybe I'll give you a little story once I answer your question. And I have been thinking, it's so interesting you asked that question, Claudiu, because I've been thinking, I know the people in my shaman class, like I'm getting chills. I know the people in my shaman class want our class. We have a class today and then it's ending next week. I know they want to go forward. And I got this download this morning on my walk. Debbi, deliver the animal spirit messages, the animal spirit medicine. Do that because there's so much medicine in animals. And yeah, it's very sacred work. So I'll just give a little story here. So the llamas, I'll tell you about llamas. So speaking about llamas from Peru, and sorry if I get quiet, it's because a lot of information starts coming through me. And sometimes I need to sift through everything getting downloaded just to know, like, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and where to start. So the llamas in Peru, they arrive, and all the people are looking at the llamas and saying, what is that? ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? What is the name of that? What is the name? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? And nobody knew the name of this incredible animal, this beautiful animal with these gorgeous eyelashes. I mean, they're really pretty, right? And they suddenly show up and they realize these animals can carry some weight on them. And ¿cómo se llama? Nobody knows. So they call it the llama. And that's how it gets its name. And so these beautiful animals who have agreed to be of service have also agreed to carry some weight on it to assist humanity. And so the people, the men, the woman would load some things up on the llama and it would carry it up the mountains, down the mountains, from one village to another village. And they started to realize the llama would only carry so much weight. And if they put anything over 21 pounds on the llama, it would refuse to move. They couldn't pull it. They couldn't push it. They couldn't coerce it with food. Nothing. The llama said, with its way of being, I will carry 21 pounds and never an ounce more. I have boundaries. I am telling you this much is okay and this much is not. And so the people learn to respect deeply, humbly, with gratitude for the service the llama was being, exactly what it would and would not do. And so the llama was saying to mankind, womankind, I am here to be of service, but I also have boundaries. And so it teaches humanity this: be here, be of service, be here to give, live in Aini. Aini means I do for you today, for me tomorrow. Aini means I live in right relationship with all things. If something is not in right relationship, a person or a situation, I ask, what would love do here? And that is the choice I make. And I also have boundaries. I serve, but I have learned it is okay to give, but I never overgive of myself. I never give so much that I resent. I never give so much that I am empty inside. And so I've got a perfect line of giving and service, but also knowing for myself self-care. And that is the medicine of the llama.
Very, very interesting, beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Yes, I think we should pay more attention to the animals around us, even to our pets, and sometimes not treat them as pets, and acquire them just as a for pleasure, but really understand their needs and be closer to them, because they do care. If we do care for them, they will care for us as well.
Absolutely. They are here for such great purpose. They are so selfless. They're so beautiful in their love. If the only thing they teach us is love, and then all the animals have different purpose. If once we start to understand eagle condor, I mean, eagle condor actually is phenomenal. That's one of my, many of them are my favorites, but for always different reasons. And eagle condor is great when you're like this with life. You just smack up against your own life or your own situation, and you're so in the minutia of what's going on. And suddenly you allow eagle condor to come into your life, and you're flying high above the Apus, the sacred mountains, and you're looking down on your own life, and you can see what's going on. And if you're not smack up against it, you have all this widened back energy. And that's when you can see everything that's happening, the whole matrix of your life. And then with great ease, you can pick up that thread of your highest destiny. You can see it and know, this is what's for me. This is what I'm meant to do and be. Oh, and then you take off, flying wing to wing with great spirit, high above the mountains you only dare to dream of, to see. And that is the life you can choose in that moment. So they all
Yes.
have extraordinary medicine.
Yes, the unfortunate thing is that we don't get that perspective early in life as children or teenagers, but much, much later. And an example I heard about recently is in the Ringing Cedar's series of books with Anastasia, where when her son was maybe 1 year old, the eagle came over, pick up the child, and lifted him above the forest. So it will give him perspective of his surroundings and where he is in life and where he is geographically. And then when he goes down back into the location where he lived, he will be able to integrate that in the whole area, in the whole taiga, the forest. But that's a very unique example. We don't have anything similar in the West, because our children are very shielded from environment, pretty much from anything else surrounding. It's just the toys and what the parents are telling the children to do, what they are allowed to do. And it's unfortunate, but this is the society we created for ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, unless you live in an indigenous culture, then
Yes.
it's very, very different. Or if you can be Aboriginal, or, the Alaskans, or, all around the world are shamans and indigenous cultures. They've been so pushed aside, so gone after, and when in fact they've always held the secrets.
Yeah. Debbie, what was a sacred place that really had an impact on you anywhere in the world?
Oh, wow. Oh, well, I have to go with what comes up for me. And it's going to be an interesting answer, but it's Italy.
Mm.
I used to look at pictures of Italy and dream about it. And the first time I went, there was actually a picture that caused me to go there, and it was of Cinque Terre, and that means 5 towns. And oh man, it was so cool because it's a lot of hiking. Most people will do one town and hike it and then go to the next town and sleep the night, next town. I did all 5 towns in one day. And I was just so elated to create a dream at that level, that this picture I had seen online somewhere that caused me to go and do this trip, that I was there. It was a reality. I had created it. I was surrounded by it. I was blown away. It was very, very, very special for me. And years later, I went back to Italy. I know I've been there. I've had past lives there. There's this amazing resonance for me. in Italy. I love the language. I love the food. I love the people. I love how gorgeous it is. I love the history. So this trip was very, very different. I went there actually to go to an ashram, and I did profound healing work while I was there. And I would say it's sacred to me because there's like this soul longing to reconnect with a part, a place that something inside of me knows really well, not necessarily in this lifetime, but has deep connection with. And yeah, and because I've had everything from creating dreams come true to going, I mean, the history there is mind blowing. And I've gone to so many gorgeous sites. I also, something that was very sacred this last trip, I just was there December and January. And this particular trip, we went to see Father Pietro, Father Pio, and he's a really famous father. He was really interesting because wow, there was so much story about him, but the thing that's germane here is two things. First, that he would talk about extraterrestrials, and all the people in like the Italian Catholic Church are like, Father Pio, boop, boop, right? That he was like, oh no, I meet with extraterrestrials. I get wisdom from extraterrestrials. He was clear and never backed down. And then he was so of service. When he died, he made it clear, I will never leave this plane. I am here always to be of service. So when you go to see his body, he is completely preserved. It's impossible. Impossible. You go see this man and it doesn't look, there's no decay, there's nothing. And he's in a glass tomb, so you can witness and see him perfectly. Was walking around Father Pio, doing his prayer work. And I started praying too. And I was praying, oh, for this for me, for this for me, for this for me. And all of a sudden I went, oh, if that's possible, what would it be like? What would it be like if I prayed for everybody? Because I know the timeline I want to be on for healing for humanity and for the earth and for the cosmos. What would it be like if I prayed for everybody? There was a lot of people in that room. What if I just prayed for miracles and magic for everyone in this room, praying to Father Pio? So I started doing that. And then I realized, what would it be like if I prayed for everybody around the whole world to have magic and miracles? So then we're all happy and loving and kind and tolerant and, contributing, and we accept each other all exactly as we are. And I started doing that. Now, this is a first for me. I had never even had thoughts like that come in. And it was so big, so beyond me to be allowing that kind of really gorgeous energy to sync with me. And then I went from the room to the planet to the cosmos, everywhere, that everyone was benevolent. And it was like quite an experience for me to align like that, to have that much love or thoughtfulness, if you will, about all beings, all sentient beings, large and small. And so thank you, Father Pio, for maybe bringing that in, for assisting me with that at that time. But that was a gorgeous sacred site. And then we went to another place that was all about the first sighting of Saint Michael, of Archangel Michael. Really cool stuff.
Yes, thank you. I mean, quite an unusual answer. People usually say it's Egypt or Peru or any other known sites. So this is quite different, and I will look in the Cinque Terre location to see where it is and how can one get there. Thank you. Debbie,
Nice. I want to hear how it is. Yeah.
yeah, what would you consider an accomplished life?
It's a really good question. It's so changed over time. Everybody, first of all, I just want to address the money issue. Everybody's got a different idea of what that means. But for me, I will say accomplished financially in that respect, it really means freedom. It really means that being here to serve, it's not about suffering, right? It's about I have great ease in my life to be able to deliver what I came here to deliver. And that I'm comfortable. And everybody's idea of comfort is different, but I would like that very much. And that I'm good as I get older, for sure, health wise and otherwise. Accomplishment is, I think, that I really aligned with why I'm here. You know, you asked me earlier, Claudio, about my lineage galactically. And I will tell you, because I have had a reading. In fact, yeah, oh, there's so much I could say about it, but it changed my life, the galactic reading. Where I work with the best of the best. She's so big in the world. She doesn't even do it anymore. But for my reading, my inception was the Elohim. Then I went to the Antares, the Scorpio Stargate. Then I went to Lyra. I was a lion being. And then I went to Andromeda, and then the Pleiades, and then Egypt and a couple other places. Obviously, there was a ton also in between, but those are the important markers for me. And why that's so important for my accomplishment is I'm still doing the work that I did then. I was told galactically that the work I did, frequency healer, I was always healing with sound in some way. I was always a communicator. I was always somehow a leader for the masses. And so I find I'm doing the same work. Accomplishment for me is that I am allowing this work to come through me as it's supposed to. That when a plant or otherwise speaks to me and my discernment says this is truth, I go into it, right? I was in media. I'm still in media, but also this other aspect is really more and more as this ascension is happening, expanding in a huge way. So the accomplishment is that I reach the people I need to reach, that I'm being who I need to be, that I'm still being coached by my mentors shamanically and musically, and that I'm allowing what the universe is asking to come through me, and probably the shamanic lineage right now showing up to help heal humanity, saying, please do this next, offer this next, grow here next. And that I'm a yes, I'm a heck yes when it really aligns with my purpose.
Thank you. Yes, so as long as we are open to grow and learn, I think we can consider ourselves as part of a fulfilled life. And we had a lovely conversation. We are approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are do something every day. Find a place where you find growth and stability and change. It can be many things. One of the simplest things is to put your feet in the grass. First of all, you connect with Mother Earth, and she is the most powerful, most loving, most resilient of all. And she will help you. She will ground you. She will have your back. So be stronger than your excuses. Even if it's 5 minutes in a park or your backyard or front yard, put your feet in the grass, see your roots go into Mother Earth and connect deeply into her core, and then breathe in and out that energy. And you can even go up to the cosmos and down to Mother Earth and breathe that. That practice alone will so change you for the better and set up your day.
Debbie, thank you very much for your wise words, for all the work you do, for the music, and for the content you put out there. Thank you very much.
Claudio, it's an honor. Thank you.
And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Share it, leave a comment, visit spiritualinspired.ca. And until next time, love and gratitude.